Hey there. So, you've probably seen a flute before, right? Maybe in your school band or at a concert. It looks pretty simple, just a shiny metal tube. But what if I told you that instrument is actually a piece of high-tech engineering that's been getting upgrades for over 40,000 years? Seriously. This is the incredible story of how a simple bone pipe became the complex silver instrument we know today. Let's dive in.
So, this is the big question, right? How did this thing, a piece of bone with a few holes poked in it, evolve into this, a super complex, modern silver machine? Well, it's a journey packed with upgrades, patches, and even complete system reboots that stretches across almost all of human history. All right, let's start at the very beginning with what you might call the version 1.0 flute. We're talking about the original model, made from whatever early humans could get their hands on, like the bones of birds or even bears. And when I say early, I mean really early. Archaeologists have actually found these bone flutes in caves in Europe that are a whopping 40,000 years old. That means people were making music and developing this tech way, way back in the Stone Age. It's got to be one of humanity's oldest gadgets. The physics behind this is so simple, but it's also totally brilliant. Our ancestors figured out a fundamental rule of sound. If you drill holes in a hollow tube, you can change the note by changing how long the air vibrates inside. This basic idea, it's still the source code for every single flute today, whether it was used for ancient ceremonies or sending messages across a valley. So, for thousands of years after the bone flute, the go-to material became wood. You can think of this as the long-running standard operating system. It was used by major players all over the world, like the ancient Egyptians and Greeks, for centuries on end.
By the time we get to the Middle Ages, there were basically two popular models kicking around. You had the transverse flute, which is the one held sideways, super popular with military bands. And then you had the recorder, which you blow into from the end. But they were still very simple, keyless instruments, which meant they had a pretty limited range of notes they could play. And that limited range of notes? That was a huge problem for musicians. This brings us to the first major patch, a single, crucial update that was about to change the whole game.
Okay, so here's the deal. Without keys, you can only play notes for the holes your fingers can physically reach and cover. Imagine you're playing a video game, and you need to hit a special combo, but the button for it just doesn't exist on your controller. That's exactly what musicians were facing. Certain notes were physically impossible to play cleanly. Then, in the late 1600s, some clever inventor added a single metal key, and bam, it was like a cheat code was discovered. Suddenly, a whole new note was unlocked. This one small patch made the instrument way more powerful. Composers could now write much more complex music for it, and the flute started leveling up into a serious professional instrument. But one key was just the beginning. The system was still pretty buggy. It was really time for a total reboot. And this is where Theobald Boehm comes in. He was a German flute player and inventor back in the 1800s, who basically decided to tear the whole system down and rebuild it from scratch. See, Boehm knew the old wooden flutes were full of bugs. The biggest one? The finger holes weren't placed for the best possible sound. They were just placed where your hands could comfortably reach them. This meant some notes were loud and perfectly in tune, while others were quiet and a little bit off pitch. For a professional, that's a deal breaker. His redesign was absolutely genius. First, he totally ignored where fingers could reach and just put the holes in the acoustically perfect spots for the best possible sound. Of course, this meant no human could actually play it. So, for step 2, he built an incredible, complex system of keys and levers to cover those holes. It's like upgrading from a basic controller to a pro gaming setup, letting you pull off insane combos with ease. After that, he redesigned the inside of the tube and started experimenting with totally new materials. And that last step, experimenting with new materials, led to the most famous upgrade of all, the big switch from wood to metal. You can kind of think of this like the jump from an acoustic guitar to an electric guitar. The look, the feel, and especially the sound. Everything changed. Big time. And the difference was just huge. I mean, wooden flutes sound warm and mellow, which is nice, but they're quiet and can even crack over time. Metal flutes, on the other hand, have a bright, powerful sound. They're loud enough to be heard over an entire symphony orchestra, and they're way more durable. For most professionals, the choice was a no-brainer. So, all of that brings us to today. Boehm's design was so good, so successful, that it's still the standard for the entire modern flute family. These instruments all work together to cover a huge range of different pitches and sounds. So how does it actually make a sound? Well, unlike a clarinet or a saxophone, there's no reed involved. A player blows a stream of air across a sharp edge. This is called an edge tone. And that makes the air inside the tube start to vibrate. When you press the keys, you're changing the length of that vibrating air column, and that's what changes the pitch. It's simple physics, really, but it's powered by some seriously precise engineering.
And this system comes in different models. You have the teeny tiny piccolo, which makes that super high-pitched, piercing sound you hear in marches. Then you've got the standard concert flute right in the middle. And then you have these huge alto and bass flutes, which produce these really deep, mellow, almost haunting tones.
Because it's so versatile, the flute is absolutely everywhere today. It's a star soloist in the symphony orchestra, it's used in jazz, it's a super popular choice for students who are just starting out in school band, and you hear it all the time in the soundtracks to your favorite movies and TV shows.
So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. The next time you see a flute, don't just see a simple pipe. See it for what it truly is, an incredible piece of high-tech engineering that has been refined, patched, and upgraded over 40,000 years of human innovation.
Which leaves us with a pretty cool question to think about. We've seen the flute go from bone to wood to silver, from having 0 keys to being this complex machine. So what do you think is next? After 40,000 years of upgrades, what could the next big innovation possibly be? Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.